Hi everyone, this is Professor Matthews with kind of a midweek check-in for Module 3. Hope that everyone is doing all right, made out okay in this latest snowstorm that most of us got on the East Coast and in the Midwest. And just want to spend a few moments talking with you all about the Social Change Part 3 project for this week. Before I do that, I want to mention very briefly that I recognize several folks have had challenges getting Social Work Speaks as a textbook. So I had the very unanticipated ability to post an electronic version of Social Work Speaks in the announcements for this course. So make sure that if you haven't seen that and you are still struggling with getting Social Work Speaks, you look to the announcements section of the course in Canvas and you will see one titled Social Work Speaks. Towards the bottom of the message, you'll see a little link that'll say EPUB, and that is your link to the full text that you need for Social Work Speaks. Hopefully that helps and folks are able to use that. I wanted to, again, focus attention this week on the third part of social change because I recognize that these may feel a little sort of different to folks. It's kind of maybe a new way of writing for the course, and just want to make sure everyone feels prepared and confident in their approach. So first and foremost, we are focusing this whole module on economic inequality and on human rights. So you're going to do some reading on those two topics in the module itself in Canvas and then in the Lane text as well. We're also going to be revisiting the Code of Ethics, as we will throughout the course, and connecting some of what we learn about various elements of economic inequality to the social work values that are in the Code of Ethics. So for your Social Change Part 3 project this week, still needs to be in APA format, still needs to be between 250 and 500 words, and needs to make sure that you are connecting back to course material. So make sure that you are, when you're writing about economic inequality in this paper or citing sources to talk about human rights in particular, make sure that you're referencing back to course material. Those are kind of the overarching elements of the Social Change Project for most of it, and what I want to reaffirm you're doing this week. I had a couple folks ask if they need to repeat content that they've already written for parts 1 or 2 in subsequent parts like this week, and no, you do not. Each paper should be considered a separate writing assignment and sort of a new assignment. So start from scratch and follow those elements of APA formatting, 250 to 500 words, connecting back to course materials, and of course, make sure you take a look at the rubric before you submit to know how I'll be evaluating you. In terms of the content, there are 3 questions that you're going to be answering in your social change project this week. One is going to be a description of how economic inequalities impact the population that you chose in week 1. So stick with the population that you chose in week 1 and describe for me how economic inequality and or poverty are impacting this group. So what you would potentially be doing here is describing things like some statistics on the percentage or number of people in your population that are experiencing inequality or poverty. You may be describing how it comes up in your work. Just look through those elements again of economic inequality and poverty for the first question about how it impacts your population. Second piece is then connecting 2 ethical principles from the Code of Ethics and explaining how they relate to the economic inequality experienced by your chosen population, right? So how is it an example of, again, sort of 2 ethical principles that are talked about in the Code of Ethics? And then last but not least, what you want to make sure you do for Social Change Part 3 is describe how economic inequality, particularly that's experienced by your group, how it connects more broadly to human rights concepts, right? So look at the example for a sense of, again, sort of the general way that you might approach it. Do not use I would analyze or I would do what. Do the analysis, do the research. I'm always happy to take a look at early drafts or to answer questions that you may have about it. But again, take your time with it, focus on the readings, and focus on those 3 questions, again, about how economic inequality and or poverty impacts the population that you chose, how select 2 ethical principles from the Code of Ethics and talk about how they relate to that economic inequality and or poverty. And then lastly, go ahead and describe more broadly how economic inequality, particularly that affects your population, connects back to human rights concepts. Okay? I've also got a couple other things due this week. You've got some thought questions that you'll do in the module, and then, of course, your social work pioneers, which I am very interested to see how those turn out. So give yourself some time to, again, connect with the readings. Take a look at Social Work Speaks on the announcements if you need it for any of your assignments. And as always, reach out to me if you need help at any point throughout the week. Always get back to you through email in 24 hours. Always happy to pick up the phone if that's helpful. And we'll be doing, as I did last week, my optional Zoom hours, office hours from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on Wednesday. Hope that everyone's doing well. Talk to you throughout the week, and take care.